Ever get that feeling?
Yeah.
Like that surge of motivation. When you set a new goal,
Oh, yeah.
maybe finally writing that novel or launching a side hustle, or even just remembering to floss
Oh,
regularly,
yeah. Tell me about it.
then poof, life happens, right? Shiny distractions,
Yes.
unexpected chaos. It's like everything is conspiring against your best intentions. Especially, I've heard, when ADHD is in the mix. Which is why we're diving deep today, exploring a guide specifically for manifesting with ADHD. And yes, this is tailored for you listening right now.
It's fascinating, actually. The guide doesn't just offer workarounds for ADHD challenges, it actually reframes them as potential strengths in the whole manifesting process.
Okay, so that's got me intrigued. Where does this guide suggest we begin?
It all starts with clarity, and I'm not talking about the kind you get after a good night's sleep, although that definitely helps too. The guide uses this boat analogy. It's like trying to manifest without a clear goal is like setting sail with no destination.
Right.
You're just drifting at the mercy of the winds and currents.
Ah, makes sense. So instead of vaguely wishing for, say, success, which could mean a million different things.
Exactly. You want to pinpoint precisely what you're aiming for. The guide suggests something concrete, like a 10% salary increase within the next 6 months.
Okay.
That way, you've got a tangible target, not just this fleeting feeling.
So how does this laser focus play into the whole ADHD thing?
Well, think about it. How do ADHD brains work?
Okay.
We're often bombarded with so many thoughts and impulses. Having that crystal clear goal acts as a filter.
Oh, interesting.
It helps us sift through all the noise and prioritize and resist getting swept away by every shiny distraction that pops up.
Oh, so it's less about forcing focus and more about having this beacon to naturally draw our attention.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yep.
And this makes even more sense when you consider the next strategy, breaking down those big, sometimes really intimidating goals.
Yeah, it's the classic how do you eat an elephant
Yeah.
situation. One bite at a time, of course. The guide emphasizes that this is especially crucial for folks with ADHD. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the sheer size of a goal, let's say writing an entire book, you shift your focus to something more manageable, like I'm going to write 200 words today.
I see what you mean. It suddenly feels so much less daunting.
Yeah.
But how does that tie in to the way ADHD brains tick?
This is where it gets really interesting. ADHD brains are wired for novelty and quick rewards.
Oh.
So by breaking down a large goal into smaller, achievable steps, we're essentially setting ourselves up for a series of dopamine hits. Those little bursts of feel-good chemicals that come with accomplishing something.
So it's like building in a reward system. That
Yeah.
actually works with our ADHD tendencies instead of against them.
Precisely. And these little wins, they create momentum, fueling the motivation to keep going. It's like a positive feedback loop, propelling you toward that larger goal without feeling overwhelmed.
This is making me rethink my entire to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay, what else does this guide have up its sleeve?
Well, the next strategy plays on our visual nature, something I know you appreciate as well. It's about setting up our environment to support our goals.
Oh, this reminds me of that time I taped motivational quotes all over my apartment. Didn't last long, but for a week, I felt unstoppable. So what kind of visual cues does the guide recommend?
It can be as simple as leaving your running shoes right by the door if your goal is to exercise more,
Well, yeah.
or placing a visual reminder of your savings goal on your desk. The idea is that these cues act as subtle nudges, reminding you of what you're working towards.
I love that. I bet it taps into that impulsive side of ADHD too.
Oh, I agree with
Because instead of just thinking, oh yeah, I should really go for a run, suddenly you're tying your laces before you even realize it.
Exactly. It's about harnessing that impulsivity and turning it into a force for good. Instead of being derailed by distractions, those visual cues can trigger us to take action towards our goals.
Okay, that's a serious game changer. Now on to something I think a lot of us, especially with ADHD, can relate to. The struggle with negative self-talk. It can be a real drain on motivation.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's something many people with ADHD experience more intensely.
Yeah, for sure. The guide had a great analogy for this. Treat your inner voice like your best friend. Think about it. Would you ever berate your friend? Tell them they're a failure,
Oh, no.
or that they'll never achieve their dreams.
Hopefully not. A true friend offers encouragement and support, especially when times are tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why not expand that same kindness to ourselves? The guide suggests using affirmations, like saying, I can do this, or I'm making progress step by step. Those little reminders that we're capable and worthy.
I know they can sound cheesy, But there's real science behind how affirmations can actually rewire our brains, shifting us from a negative mindset to a more positive and empowered one.
It's like slowly replacing those self-defeating thoughts
I,
with a more supportive inner dialogue, right?
right.
Building ourselves up instead of tearing ourselves down. I can definitely get behind that.
And here's where it gets even more interesting in the context of ADHD. Positive self-talk isn't just about feeling good. It's about creating a mental environment where we're more likely to take action and stay focused on our goals.
Because when we believe in ourselves and our abilities,
Hmm.
we're more likely to put in the effort.
Right.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Exactly.
but in a good way.
Yeah. Okay, what's next? Well, the next strategy is all about finding our cheer squad, or in the guide's terms, an accountability partner.
Ooh, I love this one. It's like having a workout buddy. It's so much harder to skip that gym session when you know someone's counting on you.
Exactly. But an accountability partner goes beyond just providing motivation. They can be a sounding board for ideas, a source of encouragement when you hit roadblocks, and someone who helps you stay on track with those small, manageable steps we talked about earlier.
It's like having your own personal cheerleader and strategist all rolled into one.
Precisely. And for people with ADHD,
Yeah.
who often struggle with organization and follow through, having that external support system can be a game changer.
I'm starting to think everyone needs an accountability buddy. ADHD or not. Okay, spill the beans. What's the next strategy? I'm feeling motivated already. All right, I'm ready for the next strategy. And please tell me it involves chocolate.
Well, not specifically chocolate, but it does tap into our love of rewards.
Ooh.
Think back to those small wins we talked about. The guide suggests taking that a step further and consciously celebrating them.
Okay, so not just acknowledging the win internally, but like actually giving ourselves a little treat.
Exactly.
I can get behind that.
It's about creating those positive associations.
Wow.
Remember, with ADHD, dopamine is our best friend.
Right.
So when we reward ourselves for making progress, we're reinforcing those neural pathways, making it more likely we'll stick with it.
It's like training ourselves for success, one delicious reward at a time.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of treats does the guide recommend?
Anything you genuinely enjoy, a fancy coffee, an episode of your favorite show, some time to indulge in a hobby. The key is to make it something you truly look forward to.
This is where it gets tricky for me. I get excited about everything. Shiny object syndrome strikes again. Any advice for folks like me who have a hard time choosing?
It might be helpful to brainstorm a list of rewards ahead of time. That way, when you hit a milestone, you're not scrambling to figure out how to celebrate. Plus, the anticipation itself can be a motivator.
Ooh, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Planning ahead. Who knew? Okay, what's the final piece of this manifesting puzzle?
It's all about embracing flexibility. This one's especially crucial for those of us with ADHD, whose minds often jump from one thing to another. The guide uses a surfing analogy. Instead of fighting against the waves, you learn to ride them.
Oh, I love that. So instead of beating ourselves up for not sticking to rigid schedules.
Exactly. You work with your natural energy flows. Notice when you're feeling most focused and energized, and capitalize on those moments. And when you're feeling restless or distracted, allow yourself to shift gears. Maybe take a break, move your body, or switch to a different task.
This is music to my ears. It feels like permission to actually work with my ADHD, instead of constantly trying to fit it into a box that it doesn't fit in.
It's about recognizing that our brains are wired differently, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, it can be a tremendous advantage. We're often creative, adaptable, and able to see things from different perspectives, all qualities that can be incredibly valuable in the manifesting process.
So we've got clarity, breaking down goals, visual cues, positive self-talk, accountability partners, rewards, and flexibility. Did I miss anything?
You got it all. It's quite a toolkit, isn't it?
It is.
And what's so fascinating is that these strategies aren't just random tips. They're all grounded in an understanding of how ADHD brains work.
Okay, I have to ask. As you were exploring this guide, what resonated most with you personally?
What struck me is how the guide reframes the concept of success.
Okay.
It's not about achieving some external measure of perfection or comparing ourselves to others. It's about recognizing our own unique path and celebrating the progress we make along the way.
That's so powerful, especially for anyone who's ever felt like they're not measuring up. It's a reminder that success is not a one-size-fits-all concept.
Exactly. And with ADHD, it's even more important to define success on our own terms. What matters is that we're moving towards our goals in a way that feels authentic and sustainable for us.
Now, we talked a lot about the practical strategies, but what about the mindset shifts? Does the guide touch on that at all?
Absolutely. One of the key themes is around self-compassion.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that includes our ADHD. Instead of berating ourselves for our perceived shortcomings, we learn to accept ourselves as we are, strengths and challenges alike.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to be human, messy parts and all.
And this ties into another important point, the power of reframing.
Okay.
Instead of viewing our ADHD as a burden or a limitation, we can start to see it as a different way of experiencing the world, one that comes with its own unique set of strengths and gifts.
So instead of focusing on what we can't do, we shift our attention to what we can do and what we do well.
Yeah.
That's a powerful perspective shift.
It really is. And it can make a huge difference in our motivation and our ability to manifest our dreams.
Speaking of dreams, I'm sure our listener out there has a few of their own. What do you think, listener? Which of these strategies is speaking to you the most?
Yeah, what small step can you take today to start implementing it?
Don't be shy. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and remember, it's a journey. There will be moments when we stumble, moments when our motivation dips, and moments when that inner critic pipes up. But that's okay.
It's all part of the process.
Exactly. And this is where those strategies we've been discussing become even more crucial, like self-compassion, breaking down goals, and seeking support. There are tools for navigating the inevitable ups and downs of manifesting, especially with ADHD.
It's like having a toolkit for our brains, ready to handle whatever challenges or distractions come our way. Speaking of toolkits, I'm curious, as you were diving into this guide, did any particular goal or project start to feel more doable for you?
It's funny you should ask that. I've been wanting to start a garden for ages. I even have all the supplies tucked away in my garage. But I kept getting overwhelmed by the thought of it, all the planning, the digging, the potential for things to go wrong. But after exploring this guide, it clicked. I was making it way too complicated in my head.
It's so easy to do that, especially
Yeah.
with those big multi-step projects.
Exactly. But now I'm thinking, why not just start with one small planter box? I can focus on growing some herbs this season, see how it goes, and then maybe expand from there.
I love that. It's such a manageable and achievable starting point. Plus, you'll have fresh herbs to enjoy all summer long.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe this small step will spark a lifelong passion for gardening. That's the beauty of taking action. Even if it's just a tiny step, you never know where it might lead.
What about you? Any goals bubbling up for you?
I think all this talk about time management has inspired me to finally tackle my overflowing inbox.
Yes.
It's been a source of stress for far too long. I'm envisioning a clean slate, a sense of order and control. Maybe I can even implement some of those time boxing techniques we discussed.
A clean inbox. That's a manifestation I think we can all get behind. It's amazing how a shift in perspective and some practical strategies can make even the most daunting tasks feel manageable.
It really is. And it all comes back to that core message of empowerment. We have the power to shape our reality, one intentional choice at a time.
Well said. And to our listener out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked some inspiration and giving you the tools to start manifesting your own dreams, ADHD and all. Remember, you have unique strengths and you are capable of amazing things.
So go out there and make it happen. And if you ever need a reminder of your incredible potential, just revisit this guide. It's a treasure trove of wisdom and encouragement, specifically designed to help you thrive.
We're so glad you joined us on this journey. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep shining bright.